Hey, so in this video, I'm going to share with you a 7-day happiness challenge, which is going to teach you 3 reliable techniques to make you happier. Stay tuned. Welcome to Wellness with John. I'm John Peters, and these are resources to help you thrive. If you're new to this channel, I'm a mindfulness-based therapist who's been in practice for 26 years. And on this channel, I share a variety of wellness techniques to help you be less stressed, less anxious, and happier. So in this video, I'm going to talk about a 7-day happiness challenge. And I'm going to describe 3 techniques and let you know how you can do them over the next 7 days to actually be happier. And if you take me up on this challenge and you do it, I'd be very interested if you would come back to this video and leave me a comment and let me know how it went for you. I predict that it's actually going to be enlivening for you if you do it, but I'd love to hear back from you. I love comments on the channel. And of course, if you like this kind of content, hit the like button below. Go ahead and do it now or wait until I say something shiny or something during the video. But please like the video and please subscribe to the channel if you have not yet done so. If you're coming back to me as a regular viewer, welcome back. Okay, so in this video, I want to talk about a 7-day challenge, which means I'm going to describe some things that you can do daily for the next 7 days. And these are things that not only is there research to show that they make people happier, but I actually have a lot of personal experience with these, which I'll explain, and I know that they actually work. So I'm going to describe them, describe how to do the challenge, but stay tuned till the end because I'm going to talk to you about how these 3 techniques regularly have made me actually cry. Okay, so I'll tell you that story later. So technique number 1 is gratitude. Gratitude has been looked at for the last few decades. It's not a new idea. People have been talking about being grateful for thousands of years if you look at ancient religious texts. But in the field of psychology proper, people didn't get around to doing any sort of formal studies on gratitude until the 1980s, right? So over the last 40 years, there actually has been some decent research on gratitude. And the research shows that gratitude tends to increase positive emotion. It doesn't necessarily decrease negative emotion significantly, but it increases positive emotion. And if you have more positive emotion, that's going to crowd out some of your negative emotion, right? There's also been some interesting findings with gratitude that it's associated with better health outcomes. It's associated with people initiating and following through with wellness regimens, including physical exercise. And there are other benefits that have been associated, but that we can't yet explain too well, right? But the good news, like a lot of these techniques, is that gratitude doesn't take a lot of time, doesn't take a lot of energy, and has no side effects, so you can't hurt yourself with it, right? So here's how to do the gratitude component of the 7-day happiness challenge as I am laying it out today, okay? What you do is start a note in your phone, and 3 times a day, hopefully as one of the first things you do in the day, something in the middle when it fits, like lunchtime or something, and then as one of the last things you do before you go to bed. 3 times a day, you're going to open the note in your phone, and you're going to write the first 3 things that pop into your mind about which you feel any level of gratitude. So these don't have to be big monumental things. You don't have to do a lot of pondering. Don't do a lot of filtering. Don't do a lot of judgment about whatever's popping into your head. Just be in kind of an open, creative mental state and just think the first 3 things, right? And they could be simple. They could be seemingly trivial in the grand scheme of things. Again, we're not going to judge it. We're just going to name the first 3 things that pop into our head about which we're grateful. And it could be really simple. Like, I'm grateful I have my eyesight. I can see this camera that I'm working with today, right? So anything that pops in your head, first 3 things, do that 3 times a day, early in the day, before you go to bed, and at some point in the middle. That's going to take you under 3 total minutes of your whole day, right? Okay. So gratitude is one component. You're going to do that every day for the 7 days. The second one is kind of related conceptually, but it's thankfulness, okay? So with gratitude, we're just thinking with ourselves, okay, I'm grateful for such and such. But there's really good research and there's good anecdotal and practice data to show that actually thanking someone improves our happiness. And there are multiple explanations for this, and part of it explains what goes on in your head when you thank someone, but also it looks at the quality of improved interpersonal interactions and interpersonal relationships when you thank people. But regardless of the explanation, it turns out that thanking people makes us happier. All right, it works that way. So for the thankfulness part of the 7-day challenge, at least once a day, thank someone, okay? And what that means is either out of your mouth, tell someone thank you for something. And again, it could be something trivial. You're walking into a building and someone holds the door open for you and you say to them, hey, thanks, okay? Or something a little deeper might be that you think of somebody that you appreciate who's done something good for you, somebody you want to thank for something in terms of who they are, what they are doing. Just send them a message in Messenger or a text, right? Or leave them a voicemail or email them, right? And just say, hey, thanks for whatever, just thank somebody for something, okay? So once a day, you're going to thank somebody. You can do it more than once a day because it is dose related. So doing it more will actually give you more happiness. But at least once a day, you are going to explicitly thank somebody for something. And again, this is not going to take a lot of your time. This is going to take a total of 1, 2, 3 minutes out of your day, right? And so for the third component, this one's a little more complicated to understand, but it's actually simple to do once you understand it, okay? So this is borrowed from something that the Dalai Lama has said many times when asked different questions about like why he does what he does or why he teaches what he teaches. But the Dalai Lama has said variously that everybody wants to be happy and everybody wants to be free from suffering, okay? Now, he's not unique in thinking about this because if you think about it, it's true, right? It's true for you, it's true for me, it's true for everybody. The Dalai Lama says it in part probably because he's a Buddhist leader, and that is a central idea in Buddhism. But basically, there's this fundamental fact of existence in terms of how we orient ourselves toward our life, right? I want to be happy and I want to be free from suffering. You want to be happy and you want to be free from suffering. And if we accept this as a universal aspect of human existence, then part of what that means is that as I go through my day, let's say that I'm driving down the road and I see someone walking down the sidewalk, that's true for that person too, right? If I'm checking out at the grocery store and I think about the clerk who's ringing me up, that's true for her too, right? If I stop at a traffic light and I glance over at the driver who's in the car next to me, that's true for that person too, right? So it's true for everybody because it's a fundamental human feature of our existence. We all want to be happy and we all want to be free from suffering. So why does this matter? Why is this relevant in terms of the 7-day happiness challenge? Because if you think this about other people, it causes you to be happier. And so what I mean is that if I decide for a certain part of my day, you don't necessarily have to do this for your whole day, but each day for at least a part of your day, and you can decide how long this part is going to be. It could be during your lunch hour. It could be all day. It could be just randomly when I think about it, but enough so that you actually do it. But I've found that when I recommend this to people, it works best if you agree with yourself at the beginning of the day that there's going to be a certain section of your day. If it's not going to be all day, there's a certain section of your day where you're going to agree with yourself that at least some of the time when your mental attention comes to rest on another person, like in my example, I'm driving down the street and a person is walking down the sidewalk and so I see them and I remember that I'm committed to doing this practice during the day, then what I'll remember is just in my head, I will just say, hey, he wants to be happy and free from suffering. That's it. That's all we're going to do in our head, right? It literally takes a short period of time. Then you can go on with whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're focused on. Again, at the grocery store, in my head, I just take a short moment in the interaction and just think, she wants to be happy and free from suffering. Okay. That's it. We're not going to judge it. We're not going to filter it. We're not going to contemplate how it's supposed to work. We're just going to insert that idea in our head, observing it about a real person in real time as we're going through our day. Now, the part that you can observe is, how do you feel when you do that? Does it cause additional thoughts? Does it cause different thoughts? Does it cause a different way of interacting with the person or the situation? Does it affect you in some ways that you can notice in your being, right? And again, you don't have to get into a big deep, I'm going to sit down and meditate on this for a whole hour, but you can just allow your awareness to be open to, what do I notice in myself when I do that? Okay. So that's part number 3. And again, you can decide how you're going to fit that into your plan. My general recommendation is, at the beginning of the week, try to think what's feasible. Like, am I going to just try to remember to do this during my lunch hour? Or am I going to do it during the mornings? Or am I going to try to remember it ad hoc at least a few times during the whole day randomly, but not necessarily try to commit myself to saying that about every single person I see the whole day? But just, you get the point, right? Just figure out how to fit it into what you're going to be up to at least part of each of the next 7 days, so that you're doing it some of the time, right? However you fit it in, you should at least enact it, a handful of times, 5 or more times during that day, however you've kind of situated it in your schedule, right? So that's the 7-day challenge. Every day you are going to do 3 short sessions of naming 3 things you're grateful about. You're going to thank at least one person, and you're going to set up the idea of thinking they want to be happy, they want to be free from suffering, okay, about people that you are encountering during the day, right? You're going to do this every day for 7 days. And during the thing, be open and aware of how it's affecting you. And at the end of the 7 days, do take a minute to sit down and reflect on how these practices have affected you, right? And again, please, 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 if you do this, come back and comment below this video, because I would love to get some feedback about how it's affected you. Now, part of the reason that I recommend this is I practice these things myself as part of my own wellness program to be resilient and happy. But I also, for about 15 years, I was an adjunct faculty member at Indiana University, and I taught in the schools of social work and public health. In the School of Public Health, over that time period, I was blessed to be able to teach a total of about 40 full semester stress management courses for undergraduate students. And these were big classes. So over that time period, in those 40 semester classes, I probably had, 4,000 or 5,000 students. Okay. And so I had this extra credit assignment at the end of the course, and it had multiple things that people could choose. And the 3 things that I just shared with you for the 7-day happiness challenge were 3 of the choices that students could choose to do at the end of the course for extra credit, right? Now, undergrads want extra credit a lot, so they were motivated. A lot of my students did it, so I had thousands of students do these various exercises. And what I did was I had them do that for a few days, and then I had them just sit down and write a short reflection essay, 1 page or less, about just what they noticed about how it affected them, right? And so here's the part where it made me cry. I think there wasn't a semester where I didn't have at least 3 of those essays bring me to tears, because I had students, obviously many students, just had a superficial involvement like students do with homework assignments and just write some fluffy stuff. And some students were obviously, like they do, writing stuff that they thought I wanted to hear. But it was very clear to me with many of these students that they really sincerely engaged with the exercises, and they shared in their essays some amazing things in terms of how it affected them, right? And I'm not going to go into lots of details here about the specifics of what my students shared in that, but I will say that it not only touched my heart, but it brought me to tears at times to hear how sometimes the healing power of happiness and the healing power of growth that students were able to achieve, even through a relatively brief exercise like that of just a few days of doing a relatively straightforward and simple practice like this. Some of these stories of what they experienced were amazing. And again, it wasn't bullshit. They weren't just making it up because they thought I wanted to hear. These were stories that were very obviously sincere about how it had affected them and their relationships with other people. With some people, it had really transformed things like chronic anger problems and things like that, chronic depression and things like that. So I got these amazing stories, and I'm just blessed to have been able to share things like that with students in that context. And this is one of the reasons that I believe that these techniques are so powerful, because of the many people who've come back to me and told me how powerful they've affected them. I also share these types of things with my clients in my practice because I'm a mindfulness-based therapist and coach, and these are the types of things that I often work into my holistic paradigm in terms of how I support my patients in thriving. So anyway, highly recommend, if you're willing, take the 7-day challenge, come back and leave me a comment and let me know how it affected you at the end of the 7 days. And if you like this kind of content, again, and have yet to hit the like button on this video, please hit it now. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe so you can be apprised of my future offerings, because I try to make a video like this about once a week, sometimes a little more often than that. So thanks for joining me today, and I'm going to wait to hear back from your report after you do the 7-day challenge.